In this video, we're going to talk about the 3 different types of people who really need Disney Lorcana in their life. Plus also, what do you need to get started? Let's open up a few packs and then let's explain how do you play the game. So what makes me qualified to talk about Disney Lorcana? Well, look, I love board games, but I've never got into a trading card game before. So that makes me a beginner. So you're going to get a proper beginner's aspect into the foray of Disney Lorcana. So let's just get straight into it. There's 3 different types of beginners who will need Disney Lorcana. Firstly, the collector, the person who's going to open up the packs and going to get so excited when they see that enchanted or that legendary. Perhaps they want to sell them, perhaps they want to keep them, perhaps they just want to put them up on their shelves and look at them. That's the collector. Next up is the player. In this game, you've got a whole bunch of cards and you get to actually play a proper card game. The card game is amazing and I'm going to teach you how that plays later. But you don't care about the collecting aspect. You just want to open these cards to be able to play the game. And the third type of person is the hybrid. Now, a famous little taco girl once said, why can't we have both? And that's what this is all about. Perhaps you want to open this box up. Perhaps you want to go through all of those cards and you want to keep those collectible ones, the enchanted, the legendaries, and you want to stare at them on your wall because you absolutely love that because you're a collector. But you also have a hell of a lot of commons and uncommons that you can still play the game with. Hybrid, that's me. But there's also a 4th type of player. This is way past beginner level. This is actually the person who goes out to tournaments and really gets into these decks. They go in with a fine-tooth comb trying to find the best combination of cards to be able to play in tournaments. There's a massive tournament scene for trading card games. So perhaps you're a beginner now, but perhaps you're going to be an advanced tournament player later. Now to get started, you're going to need some cards, and the best way to get into cards are going to be through the Disney Lorcana starter decks. Now these are going to be Amber and Amethyst, Ruby and Emerald, and Sapphire and Steel. And what these are going to give you the correct amount of cards to actually play the game. They're going to be balanced sets that you're going to need. So every time you play, you're going to need 60 cards over 2 different colors. That's why they have the starter decks, and that's the easiest way to get in as a beginner. Now what's the other way? Well, you can buy a whole box, just like me, crazy. Well look, obviously you're going to get enough in there to start a game because you're going to have, 24 decks in there, 24 lots that you can open with 12 cards each. So plenty of options in there. And the last thing you might see is just single booster packs. Now these booster packs, you're going to have 12 cards in there. What you're going to get in every 12 card deck, you're going to have 6 commons, 2 uncommons, and you're going to have some random ones, you're going to have some rares, super rares, legendaries, and what you're trying to get is the enchanted. They're the ultimate prize in this collection. So look, that's everything you're going to need. So grab some cards. Now let's learn how to play the game. Before I teach you the game, I need to teach you the makeup of each card. Up in the top left, you're going to have a number, and that's going to be the cost to be able to play the card into your hand. If that number has a golden reef around it, it can be used as an inkwell. Inkwells are your currency. By turning it over, you play it as an inkwell, and that's going to be a currency. Next up, you're going to have the player's name. You're going to have also a special type. Next, you're going to have attack and defense. If it has a special ability down here, will be in the writing here. Right down the bottom is its rarity. So this is a super rare card. And finally, you're going to have the lore. So you're going to have 2 little icons right there, and that's going to be the lore. You need lore to win. So you're going to quest these cards, earn 20 lore, and you're going to win the game. Now to play Disney Lorcana is very simple, so let's go through it and we'll make this as beginner friendly as possible. To start off, we're going to need cards for each player. So each player is going to need 2 different colors out of the set. So I've got here 2 colors for me, and I'm going to put 2 colors for my opponent there. So grab 30 cards of each color, shuffle those 2 colors together to make a 60 card shuffle deck. And that's going to be your deck. Your opponent's going to do the same. Once I have my deck, I'm going to draw 7 cards, and this is going to be the starting point for my game. Now for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to turn my cards face up, so just so you can see them. But obviously, if you are playing the game, they're going to be hidden from your opponent. So now this is my very first turn of collecting those cards, so I now have a choice right at the start. I can do what's called a mulligan. So perhaps there's some cards here I don't like. I want to get rid of them. Look, I've got 2 coconut baskets. I don't need 2 of them. Let's get rid of a couple of cards, and let's do a once off. I'm going to get to replace them right at the start. So there we go. I've got my starting hand. Now the other thing to note, because we're just starting the game, the very first turn of everyone's turn is to grab a card out of the deck, except for the very first turn of the game. So the first player who starts off will only have the 7 cards. They won't draw a card to start off. Now, the other things you need to know, remember, we're trying to get to 20 lore. That's the end goal that we're trying to get to. But the problem is the game doesn't come with a tracker. So perhaps you can use a 20-sided die. Perhaps you can use a pen and paper to write down that. So you're going to need that. The other thing that this game is missing is a couple of these. I've just grabbed this from Star Wars Rivals, but this is going to be some damage counters. When we cause damage to the other opponent, we're going to need to put them on their card. So you're going to just need something that's going to be able to replace that. So some damage tokens there. Now we are ready to get started. So I've got my set of cards, their opponent's got their set of cards, and we are ready to go. Remember, the very first turn of the game, we don't draw a card. So now I need to make a decision. I want to place out a card to start growing my inkwell. So let's have a look here. I might play out Triton. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn Triton over. So remember, to get a card into your inkwell, it's just got to have that golden reef around the number. So Triton did, and there we go. That's all I can do on my first turn. I've got 1 point there, so I've got a currency of 1. So I could play out a card here. I've got one card here, which is a 1, but it's also an action card, and I can't use that action right now. So for now, that is the end of my turn, and over to my opponent. So the opponent's now done their turn. It's up to me again. So first thing I'm going to do, let's draw a card. Next thing I want to do, remember, once per turn, I can put one card into my inkwell, and I want to keep doing that. It's very important when you're starting off to keep growing that inkwell. So let's put Donald Duck out there. So we now have 2 ink out here. So that's going to be the currency. I've got here a coconut basket, which is 2, but nothing else. I'm trying to get my characters out. So right now, still can't do much. So that's the end of my turn. Over to the opponent. Okay, the opponent's starting to build their turn up, and it's back to me. First thing I'm going to do, draw a card. Now, again, I want to put some more inkwell out. Let's go with this one here. And now we have a currency of 3. And now I can finally start playing out some characters. So to do that, it's going to cost me 3 ink. So I'm going to exert all of my ink. So exerting is tapping your card to the side. And that means now I can play Mickey Mouse out there. But the thing is, I can't actually do anything with Mickey Mouse this turn. I have to wait till the next turn for it to be ready to go. So for now, that is all I can do. That is the end of my turn. My opponents now play their turn, and they put a player out into their ready area. So there's a couple of things I can do with that. But right now, let's just worry about what my turn is going to be. So on my turn, I need to untap my cards. Mickey Mouse is ready to go up in the play area. So remember, there's going to be 3 rows. So Mickey Mouse is now ready to play this turn. I now draw a card. I now can put a card into my inkwell if I want to, and I will do that. So I now have a currency of 4 ink, and I might play out an item here, Eye of the Fates. Again, it goes into my area right there, which means I can't play it this turn, but Mickey Mouse I can play. So I have a couple of options here with Mickey Mouse. Well, actually has 3 options. The first thing is Mickey Mouse has an attack and defense there. I think it's willpower and strength, but I think of it as attack and defense. We're going to make this as simple as possible. So I can attack the player, but right now I can't. The reason I can't is their player hasn't been exerted. You can only attack the other player because you're trying to banish them. You're not really trying to hurt them or anything like that. You're just trying to banish them away because we're trying to be the best illumineers possible. But right now, that player is not exerted, so I can't do anything just yet. But what I'm going to do with Mickey Mouse, I've got 2 other things I can do. I've got an action here. So this action is get a clue. So when you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So that's a pretty good action. Or I could send them on a quest, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to send Mickey Mouse on a quest. It's got 1 lore on the card, so it means I'm going to get 1 lore. So again, I would write that down on my piece of paper. I'm trying to get to 20 points. Right now, I'm on 1 point. My opponent's on 0. So that is all I can do. That card's now exerted. That card I can't play. I only put 1 into my inkwell, and these are my leftover cards ready to go for next round. End of my turn. Back to the opponent. Now the opponent's decided to attack me. So it has 2 attack. So I'm going to place that out there. So that means I'm going to put 2 attack on Mickey Mouse. So 2 damage there. I've got a willpower here of 3. So I can take 3 damage. So right now, Mickey Mouse is still in play. But when you attack one of my players, I also attack you back. And Mickey Mouse has an attack of 1. So we're going to put 1 damage there on Acromedes. So that's the end of the opponent's turn, and now it's my turn. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get everything in my player area ready to go. So Mickey Mouse is back in play. I get him all fresh to go. I draw a card, and now I think about, firstly I put Eye of Fates up there, so that's ready to play. Now, what do I want to play next? I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to play Robin Hood into my area, into my inkwell, so I now have a currency of 5 ink. And And that's going to let me do two things here. I've got one card here is worth 2 and one card that's worth 3. So let's put Aurora out here, and that's going to cost me 2 ink. And I'm going to put Abu out as well, and that's going to cost me 3 ink. So that's all my ink exerted for this turn. Again, I can't use these characters right now, but these ones up the top, I can. And so now I've got to think about, what do I want to do? Do I want to use Mickey Mouse ability? But I think for now, because Acromedes is exerted, I can now attack. So what we're going to do, I have an attack of 1. I only need to get 1 more damage, so let's do that. So we would do that, we'd do 1 more attack, Acromedes is gone, but Acromedes would also attack back, so I would also be gone because it would cause 2 damage, which is, I've only got 3, so I'm also gone. So there we go, Mickey Mouse and Acromedes are now banished. So they go into your discard piles and they're done. Now I've got Eye of the Fates. I can use this, this says, see the future. Chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. So what I could have done, if I still had Mickey Mouse there, I could have quested it and I would have got, if I tap this card, I would have got 2 lore instead of 1. So that's how the item cards work. So you have 3 things: characters, items, actions. So actions, when you play your actions straight away, they've got to be played straight away. So you've got to be able to do them and they're gone. Then you'll put them straight into your discard pile. Whereas items, they're going to stay up here in your ready area, ready to go for the entire game, and you keep using them, keep tapping them, keep exerting them. And the only way to get rid of them is a few of the cards which has a banish ability. So now let's just recap this and go through every step one more time. First thing we do is we grab a card. Next up, anything that's exerted, we refresh them so they're ready to go again. Any card that's in the middle row now goes up into the top row, ready to play. And then finally, we get a choice. We can use our cards, if they have the golden reef, to put into an inkwell and grow our currency. Or if we have enough ink, we can use that ink. So I have now 5 ink here. I could use that to play Maui because Maui costs 5. So I would have exerted all of my ink there, but now I can play Maui. And Maui will be ready to go on my next turn to go up here and play. So that's as simple as it is. Remember, you've got characters, items, and actions. Now, some characters are going to have certain abilities. So there's going to be things like rush, and there's a whole bunch of other things. But for now, look, that is all you need to know to get started in Disney Lorcana. And there we go, Disney Lorcana, and look, it's a pretty simple game. One of the main things that's going to be different to other TCGs and collectible card games is the fact that you can only attack the player when they're exerted. So that's something that's different and unique, but it's an easy pick-up game. Now, where we're at, well, this game was released in the USA approximately about a year ago now with the first chapter. Remember, in Australia, it's only just dropped yesterday, so the first chapter, very new to us in Australia, but here we go. We've got the first chapter, Rise of the Floodborn. We have Into the Inklands, and we also have Ursula's Return. So right now, there's 4 sets that are available in America, and eventually those 4 sets will be available in Australia. Now, other things to know, the latest one, I think there's going to be a solo mode, so that's really important for a lot of people out there. Like, I'm a massive board game solo gamer, so I'd love to know how that solo and that co-op experience is going to be. But for now, I just have to keep waiting. I have to be patient, wait for all those other chapters to drop. So they're estimating that probably every year there's going to be about 4 chapters that are going to drop. And each one, well, in the first chapter, there's 204 cards. Then you've got a chance to get a full card of each one. So I guess there's 408 unique cards. Then you also have some enchanted ones. So let's just say there's about 420 odd cards that you're going to be able to get, individual cards for the first chapter. And look, again, every chapter is going to just add a few different things. So one of them is going to add locations. Again, I talked about that solo and co-op. And it's enough that if you're into this game, that you're going to want to keep reinvesting. Now, the hardest part for me is when you buy a box, you get pretty much fairly close to like 80 to 90% of the set. There's a lot of the cards there, which is great. So you have a full game ready to go. You got your 6 colors, you have enough cards in each color to get started. So that's a really good way to get into it. Plus also, any of your cards that are really decent, that collectible aspect. Remember we talked about hybrid? Well, cool, I can now stare at my cards and admire the beautiful ones I have. Unfortunately, still no enchanted for me, but wait, what? Did I just go and buy another box and actually pull an enchanted? Yeah, I did. Pretty cool. There we go. So you can go collect, you can go play the game, and then obviously as each chapter drops, you can keep reinvesting in it. Now, the pros are that it's an easy game, it's a family game, and it's an IP that the family is gonna absolutely love. So it's a great theme in that regard. Now the cons, it's gonna be the money. if you do get addicted into these collectible card games, well, you are investing each time. And look, but is that a bad thing? Look, it's a con if you don't have much money. And look, to play the game, you know, you don't need the full deck. Buy some of those starter sets. Those starter sets will be able to get you going. You'll have to buy 2 of them, and you got enough there to play the game for a while. So look, I guess the con is the expense, but you don't have to spend all that. You can just get those starter decks just so you can play the game. So there we go. The pros, the cons, how to play the game, and who this game's actually for. If you like these videos, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know what is the best pull you've had from Disney Lorcana. Look, I got this Elsa foil legendary, pretty happy. It's the best card I got, so I'm pretty wrapped with that, but I'd love to know what have you gotten out of these sets. And if you're in the US, let me know about the new chapters dropping, because I think the next one's dropping for us in about 2 weeks' time. I'm absolutely pumped, and yeah, let me know what it's like. That's it. Till next time, laters.